Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I'm Ashley with Grace & Goods Boutique.
And I'm Shelby with the Aria Event Studio.
And this is the Business Bestie Podcast. We got our big water cups today. We forgot our coffee cups.
Yeah, one's MIA, so, just a Monday. Well, we are so excited. We have Maddison with us today, and she is a financial advisor. And I got to meet you at one of the Grow and Socialize events maybe 6 months ago.
Yeah, July.
Yep. Okay. Awesome. So just tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're a mom, and I know you do financial advising, but maybe what exactly you do.
Yeah. Mom of two. I have a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. Farmer's wife. We live in Ligonier on a little family farm. And then for work, I'm a financial advisor. I work with young families, pre-retirees, but specifically my heart is for women in business and entrepreneurs that are females. We're just an underserved area, and I'm really passionate about making sure that we get a seat at the table as well.
Yeah, I love that. So, young mom of two, married, building a career. How has becoming a mom changed the way you personally think about money, protection, and then your future?
Yeah, becoming a mom really changed the way I thought about protection and insurance. Life insurance I was a Dave Ramsey kid, so life insurance was one of those things I was like, oh, that's not, it's a scam, it's all these things, and I feel like in the Midwest that's a really big struggle for a lot of us because that's what we're all taught, and learning that there's a really big place for life insurance and income protection insurance, especially once you become a parent, really changed the way I thought about things and really changed my conviction, especially once I stepped into this role as a financial advisor. Along with that, it's just really putting a image to what I want my life to look like for my kids. And my parents raised us money is not the thing, that's not what we're all worried about, right? It's not the most important thing, but I don't see money as that, but I see money as what I can do for my family and to be able to take care of my parents when they're older and to take my kids on the trips that they're going to remember forever, and all of those things that it's not what can money do for me, it's what can I do for other people. And so the way I invest and think of my own finances is how can I make this create the life that I want to live.
When did you start doing this? Was it after you became a mom?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So April of last year actually is when I started.
Oh,
so
wow.
Yeah, I'm coming up on 1 year, but
well, congratulations on this 1 year. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that you brought up Dave Ramsey because I got his book.
Yeah.
I forget what it's called, but
Financial Peace University.
Yes. So before I owned the boutique, I was a physical therapist assistant with Stepping Up, and my clinical director actually gifted me that book 1 year. So I love that you followed him. He's got some good stuff too.
He has some really good stuff, and I'm a big Dave Ramsey fan. The one thing I didn't know really until I got to this spot was he's really, really good in the space that he's in, but he never teaches us what the next steps look like. And that's where I come in a lot of times is once you're out of that debt, it's how do we accumulate and how do we become efficient? And that's where he's absolutely never get permanent life insurance. That is one of the best ways to build wealth and a very efficient asset. And there's just so many different things that once we're out of that, how do we survive and how do we get out of this hole? Let's start climbing the mountain. And he doesn't really ever educate us on that.
Yeah.
And so it's a lot of times that's one of my biggest barriers in meetings is, well, Dave Ramsey. I'm like, okay, we're sitting at this conversation, you're past Dave Ramsey.
Yeah.
But it's a great thing to lean on the credit cards. There's always, credit cards can always come with so much risk. So he's got a lot of really good morals and basis, but there's steps past it. It's really fun to get to that point.
Yeah.
So you said you've been doing this for a year. What were you doing before?
I was in healthcare, actually. I was the manager of a cath lab in Warsaw. So I was in high risk. I was doing heart attacks, high risk procedures, and I just once I started having a family, I realized I needed something different. Healthcare was not fulfilling anymore, and I couldn't justify my time away from my kids. I've always been really money minded and just thought about money differently. I had a lot of bad experiences with money as a kid, and so I've just always wanted to really talk about money and learn how to really use money as a tool. Realized that that's not how everyone thinks, and that people don't want to talk money. And so from that, I just kind of really prayed, and God laid it on my heart, this is what I was supposed to do. It was one thing after another, and I couldn't even say no. It was, God made it way too clear that this is where I was supposed to be. And now it's really funny because most people have this ick with financial advisors and like, oh, you're screwing people over or all these things. And I tell everyone I get to help people 10 times more every day than I ever did in healthcare. And that's what I went into healthcare to do. And now I get to help people so much more.
There's so many barriers in the healthcare field that, yes, you might be helping people, but you can only help them so much, or the insurance companies, they step in and block things. So I experienced that myself as well.
I did healthcare too. That's what I went to school for. It's
I feel
so
like
funny.
every young woman in Indiana starts in healthcare.
I feel like it's ingrained in our brain, like
that's what
you
you're
need to be
supposed
a
to
nurse.
do.
You need to- it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Was there a moment in your own life or career that made you realize that you wanted specifically to serve women in finance?
So my husband and I sat down with an advisor, and I have always been the breadwinner in our marriage. My husband makes good money too. Like, we both just really work hard, but I've always been the breadwinner. I also have always handled the finances. He doesn't even look at our like bank app. And the person we were sitting with like was talking to him. That was it. I would answer the questions, and I still like wouldn't even get eye contact and no respect in the conversation, and just like did not feel welcome. And I was like, this is just not fair. It feels very disgusting. Like, it feels very 1950s. We're at a lot different place in the world now. And I started talking to other women, and it was a very common experience. I'm like, this isn't okay. Like, we are changing, like, we're coming, and I am all for, like, I love my husband. I am all for marriage and like support in that, but we deserve a seat at the table as well. And that just like really like set me off, I feel like. And from there I was like, oh no, we're changing this. And I want my daughter to see that, one, it's a very male dominated field. And so I want her to see that like we have a seat, like we can be in this position as well with the men, but that we get a say in what happens with our finances and our future. So many women we are just so used to be like, yeah, whatever he says, or like, oh, he's taking care of everything. And then unfortunately when it ends in divorce, he wasn't taking care of anything, or you have nothing. And it just gets so ugly. And so I think it's so important to keep both parties involved in everything. And then specifically, I was really passionate about kind of targeting into the female business owners. But my mom has been a business owner all my life. She's owned multiple different businesses, and seeing the lack of support for female owned businesses, and seeing the statistics of there's way more businesses owned by women, but they're also failing a lot faster than men. And it's all because of resources. And a lot of it comes down to the financial resources, because as women, we don't want to talk about it. And there's a lot of embarrassment that comes with it, and we don't ask for help.
I think it's also intimidation. I mean, just knowing that it's a male-dominated field, we get scared to even ask the questions or dig in. So.
Absolutely.
So many women feel intimidated by money in general, or they think that they're just bad with it because maybe they were never taught because they were a girl. So why do you think that is, and what mindset shift do you wish more women would make with that?
Yeah, I feel like we definitely were taught not to talk about it, and a lot of us in, like, I'm 26, in that generation, our parents also were taught not to talk about it, so they never talked about it with us as kids. It was a cliche thing to think about or talk about, so now we're just figuring it out as we go. So talking about it, I feel like for us, we think it makes us feel or look weaker, or like we're asking for help, and we're all scared to ask for help as women because we don't want to look weaker. I want people to know that you're actually better off for asking for help, and you are going to be so grateful in the future that you like stepped out and did that uncomfortable thing, just like starting a business, right? You started the business, you did the uncomfortable thing there. Take the next step, do the uncomfortable thing, and ask for help and ask for the guidance so that you can help protect what you're building, and have that resource to be more tax efficient and just be more efficient as a whole for you personally and your business, because at the end of the day, you are one. So really thinking through all of that. I think often, especially for women, our money is controlling us. We don't take control of our money. So really like having a budget, or like giving, and this is kind of Dave Ramsey too, is like giving every dollar a spot on your budget. And so when we give the money a place, it doesn't feel like we know where it's going, and it doesn't feel like we're just going through it. And so at the end of the year, you're like, even if it wasn't where you wanted it to go, even if you're still shopping a ton, you're like, at least I know where it went. It's not like, where did it go? Like you look back at your budget and like, oh, well, that's where it went at least. So just taking that control and knowing where your money is going. And the biggest thing I feel like I've helped reshape a lot of women to think is like, just think of savings as a bill. Think of it as a bill for your future self, because we, especially as parents, we're like, no matter what, like we're gonna do what it takes to make it work, pay all the bills. And so when you think of it as a bill, like saving some money, now you're like, oh, I don't know if I can spend that extra $50 to save. Whereas you're like, oh, it's a $50 bill I have to pay every week. Like, I'm going to make sure my bills are paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so when you think of it as a bill, then you're like, oh, I've got to do it every week. There's no out, where it's so easy when we're just saving to think of it as an out.
Do you think that like placebo effect of it treating it like a bill just automatically makes the money come in to be able
Absolutely.
to put it there? Yeah.
100%. When you think of it as a bill, it happens, especially for women.
Well, I was going to say too, I think something that is scary too is like with money, I think we base our success off of how much money you're making. And so sometimes it's embarrassing to be like,
Absolutely.
you know, when you sit down with a financial advisor and you're like, this is how much I have in my savings and this is how much I make. And if you personally don't think that's enough, it's hard to talk about.
Absolutely.
Because, you know, I think you see people that are very wealthy and they have all these things and they must be successful and they're at the top of the totem pole and I'm all the way down here. So I think basing your success off of how much money you have in the bank or how much money you make in your business is like a mindset shift.
It's 100% a mindset. I just actually was laughing about this with a coworker today, is how money is so relative. Every single person I talk to comes in, like the people that are really confident are usually the people that aren't in a great situation. And then the people that are in here terrified about, I'm never going to be able to retire, my business is slacking. Like those are the people that are actually doing great.
Yeah.
It's the people that get comfortable that are really actually struggling. But that mindset shift really does make a difference to, like, we all have to start somewhere. And it doesn't matter where you're starting. And that's what the one thing that I'm super passionate is about, knowing, like making people know that it's a safe place when you come in. There is absolutely zero judgment. I have been at every side of the bucket and no place is perfect. Even like whether you're at the bottom or you're at the top, there's still struggles.
Yeah.
And there's always more that you can do. And just helping people feel confident in what is to come.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is such a relevant, relatable thing. Because I know I've been embarrassed, and you want not only the public but other people in your life to think, "Oh, she's so successful.
Exactly.
She's thriving. She's not struggling."
Yeah.
And you have to show a complete stranger, usually when you find a financial advisor, "Hey, I suck at money."
Oh, exactly. And the thing is, though, business owners usually are the worst because they don't have the time to do it. And it's one of the biggest headaches. And for you guys as business owners, it also creates a fear because when you sit down and actually look at the numbers, you're like, are we doing okay? Like, it doesn't feel like it. But money is not the only way to measure success. And the money comes, and it takes so many years to actually see profit. But having a plan in place helps you be able to measure it a little bit more successfully and feel a lot less weight on.
Yeah, feel less like you're failing.
Yep. And that's what I always tell people is like, I want to come alongside you so that you can focus on the things that are important, like client facing, setting up the events, having the boutique stocked, having staff at the boutique, and all of the things that you enjoy, not the finances that make you want to run away from the business.
So you focus on women and specifically women in business. Where do you obtain most of your clientele?
Honestly, a lot of it comes from the area and the events we do there. I do a lot of networking. I am constantly looking for new networking events and just trying to grow through that realm. I feel like in person makes a big difference for building that trust and getting to meet people where they're at. Our business is built on, like, you just call and you find clients, and I have not ever leaned into that model, and I'm still doing really well without following that. I'm really just trying to change that. I need to be better about asking for referrals because that's where I get to meet the people that I really want to meet, right? Like, I work with great women. Why am I not asking them what are the other great women that they know?
Yeah.
But that is hard for me because then it feels like
But I also think, too, with women, like, it comes naturally. Like, I would say anytime I talk to somebody about stuff like that, like, I just talk about you automatically because I had such a great experience. So, I mean, yes, you probably should be following up with some asking, but I think you probably can know too that, like, we are out there plugging you.
And that's why I definitely feel that. And I've recently had a few people reach out from referrals that, like, didn't necessarily, the referral didn't come to me, but it was happening. And so I heard from somebody. But the networking events is definitely huge. And being out in the community and letting people know you're there. I feel like women definitely appreciate, like, just knowing that you're a human being just like them.
Exactly. Yeah. So if women are listening right now, which they are, so anybody that's listening right now and just feels really behind and overwhelmed, or like, I should have started this years ago, what would you say to her right now?
Tomorrow is the enemy of today. You're one decision away from a different life, and change doesn't take the time the results do. So today is better than tomorrow. Yesterday's gone. We can't change that. The sooner we start with anything is better, but especially with investing and changing those financial, taking those financial hurdles, especially when it comes to protection, because once it's too late, it's too late. And we all think nothing's going to happen to us, and I wish that I could say it wouldn't, but 1 in 5 people end up disabled. You never know when somebody's going to pass away, unfortunately, and I see way too many GoFundMes on Facebook. That is where my biggest conviction comes, is especially for children, is when we see, I really want to give my child the burial they deserve, or I can't afford their health care, when there's all of these things in place. We insure our cars, we insure our houses. Those are worldly assets that are paid by our paycheck that we're not insuring. Or our husband, like if you're a stay-at-home mom, like those different things that we think about are like cars, but we never think about our paycheck in our lives. And those are two of the most important things.
I thought about it like that.
It like when you think about it, when you really think about it, it's like, I just saw so many, like GoFundMe is just, it breaks my heart. Like every time, then I feel guilty because I'm like, I didn't do my job because I didn't ask them.
If it's somebody you know.
I'm like, that was my fault because I had too much pride to ask them. I thought, oh, they're taken care of, and now they're not. And so there's a lot of conviction in that I'm still trying to get past, because I do, like, it's hard for me to like feel salesy and ask like, hey, do you have life insurance? And again, like I said, in the Midwest, that's an interesting conversation. But then when it's too late, it's too late.
I recently learned, and correct me if I'm wrong, can you borrow from your life insurance?
You can. Permanent life insurance is, there's a difference. There's term and permanent. Term is like renting a house. Permanent's like owning. When you own the house, it creates a lot of cash value, actually. Really, really cool asset, especially for business owners to be able to leverage.
That was an interesting
Meet with her.
Yeah, for sure.
So what are the top or more common financial mistakes that you see over and over again with your female clients? And maybe not because they're uneducated, or that they're doing anything wrong, but that they are uneducated.
Really just not having the conversation and putting the protection in place to make sure that whether it's their business is protected or that they're protected in a marriage or in a relationship, to make sure that if something does happen to their husband, that they're going to be okay, or if the marriage ends, that everything's still going to work out there, and just understanding how to save efficiently. We're all just taught you just keep your money in the bank in a savings account. Not really the greatest asset anymore. Any money that's sitting for less than 6 months, making less than 3%, is actually losing value right now because our inflation's so high. There is non-market correlated assets, no risk, that you can use to make more than 3% interest on money that's savings, that emergency fund, and that cash that we need on hands that's not taking risk. So just having those, knowing those little tips and tricks, and that's what I'm always just trying to share. And everyone's like, why do you always want to talk about money? And I'm like, there's just so many things that are just so easy that we could be doing, but we're not talking about them.
Well, I just started working with you recently, and I was very surprised by like how easy it was and how doable these things are. And I would also like to say, you had a partner or somebody that you kind of work with as well, Tony, and he was so just like, he looked at me the whole time, even so I came in by myself first and then my husband joined, but he was really good at making sure like both of us felt heard and seen and like engaged in conversation with both of us as well. So highly recommend. But what do most women think financial planning is versus like what it actually is?
I think even not just in women, but in general, people think that sitting down with a financial advisor is somebody who's just trying to take your money. They just want you to invest your money for as long as possible, as risky as possible, so that they can charge the highest fee. And that is not at all what it is, at least with me. I'm a fiduciary, which means I have to work in my client's best interest. And what that means is building a solid financial foundation and building out a plan that helps accomplish every goal that you have on your bucket list, short-term and long-term. A lot of times what I see is they're afraid of the judgment that comes with that conversation to start, but then they think it's going to be a lot of strict changes and that they're going to have no money to have fun with, and that they're going to be left like scrounging just so that they can retire one day. And so many people, and myself included, was like, I want to live now. I want to be able to take my kids to Disney World. I don't want to worry. I don't know that I'm ever going to get to retire, right? Or I may pass away before then. And so how do we get that happy medium? And I think that's where it really becomes so important to have an advisor that's really listening to your goals and what you're asking and what you're wanting. And as business owners, a lot of times retirement planning doesn't come till later. And that's kind of what we talked about, is like, if you have big aspirations and want to start more businesses or expand your businesses, then tying up assets into IRAs isn't the greatest fit. But you have to really get to know somebody and their goals to understand that. But I'm also a big advocate of fun money. So making sure that it's just like a diet. If you tie up everything and you're never giving yourself a cheat day, you're going to fail. You're going to give up really quickly. So making sure that we still have that 20% for fun money is super important.
Yeah, I think I've seen, well, one of the biggest things, I'm a very money person. Like, I'm very, like, I watch my account every single day, multiple times a day. Where's the money going? And I was feeling like the money's not working for me at this point. Like, I know that there can be more. Like, I should be able to put my money somewhere to make me more money. And I've seen, like, my dad owns his own business and he's really close to the retirement age, but like, there's no plan in place. And I just know that when I'm 60, like, I don't want to be in that position. Absolutely. And so I feel like that's why I was like, okay, we got to get on this right now. And I kept hounding my husband, and I'm like, we have to do this now.
And I feel like sometimes now, especially in the changing dynamic of our world, I feel like it is a lot of times now the women are the ones that want to have the conversation, and the man, there's a lot of pride for men, especially around money, is I don't want to talk. I don't want people to know what's happening, because again, they are used to being the breadwinners or the ones making the money, and they don't want people, especially if they're not, like, there's just so much judgment that comes, and there's no reason to feel that way. But our world and society has just made us feel that way. So I'm so passionate about just making everyone that's in the room know there's no judgment. There is no one person in this conversation that's more important. I just want to make sure that everyone is protected and has the means to be able to accomplish their goals and what they want in life.
That's great.
Do you have a personal financial win and or lesson that you want to share with our audience?
Yeah, one of the things that I was really excited to have learned and be able to implement for my kids was leveraging permanent life insurance for them for an asset instead of saving directly for college. Instead, now I have locked in their insurability at the health of a 6-month-old, but then now they can be insured for the rest of their life and purchase more, but also they're attaining cash value. And so my son will graduate with approximately $20,000 available cash. Doesn't have to pay tax on that growth, and it can just keep growing if he doesn't go to college and keep using it. But also what's really cool is that's my money. Like, I don't ever have to give it to him if I didn't want to. Our plan is to use it as wedding presents if they don't go to college. But that, like, I'm so excited and proud to have that and be able to, like, know that my kid, like, is going to get to start with something, and like, we don't contribute very much to that each month. Like, it's a very small amount, but like everything, the sooner you start. And so I always tell people, like, one of the greatest gifts that you can give to your kids is locking in their insurability when they're young. Life insurance is age and health dependent, so the younger and the healthier you are, the cheaper it is. And if you can lock that in when you're young, like, my children are, like, set in that department. And personally, like, I've experienced people that have ended up with diagnoses that makes them uninsurable, and we never expect those. I was talking to somebody the other day, she ended up with MS, and now, like, she's not insurable and she didn't have anything in place. So now she'll never be able to have that. And not only does that affect, like, our term life insurance in case something happens to you, but also it affects your ability to use that permanent life insurance as an asset on your balance sheet.
Well, and you don't know how young you're going to get diagnosed.
Exactly.
With something, you know, obviously children aren't thinking about that, and as parents, it's, again, something we don't want to think about, and most of the time don't. But if your child gets diagnosed with something at 2, 3, 4, 10, like, that just all goes out the window.
Exactly. And I think the other thing is really just starting early. Like I said, I grew up and learned really quickly just to think about money differently, and I'm thankful to say, like, my husband and I were able to start saving early, and even, like, straight out of college, I got a lot of scholarships, and so I got a decent amount of cash back, actually, and I went and invested it right away because I was like, I know I don't want to blow through this, and I just want to be able to have it later. So really just starting early, it's really cool to just look back and see where I'm at already at 26 because of, like, being able to start early and having people pour into me. before.
I was gonna say, are you willing to share your age? Because I think that for me is just so intriguing. I know when I was first telling my husband about you, I was like, she's so young, but I was like, she's so like smart and has like so much knowledge, and I was like, it just made me want to like work with you like even more.
A lot of people, I actually, at one of the Grow and Socializes, I was talking to somebody and she said, wow, you're really young and female to be a financial advisor. I said, the really cool thing about being young is I get to see people through the transitions. So like my clients that one day are going to pass away, I get to see through that handoff, or I get to see them into retirement, where a lot of people, they're using their parents' advisor. Their parents' advisor is probably going to retire about the same time their parents retire, which means they're going to get handed off to somebody they don't know in one of the most impactful parts of their life. Stepping into retirement has such a huge impact. We all think about getting to retirement, but once we get to retirement, is actually, and distributing from your retirement is one of the biggest impacts on what your financial future actually looks like. So it's really cool to be able to be a lot younger than most of my clients, actually, because I'll get to see through so many big changes in their life, or like even like their first kids or their kids' weddings. Like there's just so many. I just got my first clients, like our baby's here, like with a picture, and that was just so, like, it's so cool to be like one of those people for those clients and people in their lives. It's really fun.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I feel like we kind of probably already touched on this, but I want to end it in this way. So what would be one money myth that women, or again, just everyone in general, needs to stop believing?
Really, for women especially, that you deserve to have a seat at the table. You are just as important, and in general, is you don't have to have a ton of money to get a seat at the table. One of my clients that I've always thought really highly of, she's like, I didn't realize this seat was allowed to us. Like, I thought it was for the 1% only. And I always say, my motto is, we can't become the 1% if we don't have access to the resources and the knowledge. And that's where I'm like so passionate, is just sharing as much information as I can. I don't care if you never become my client, I'm still gonna try to like help you get ahead, because there's enough room for all of us. Everyone deserves to be successful in this world. And just that also, investing is risky, and a lot of people they're like, I don't want to invest, there's so much risk with it. A good financial plan isn't built on just investments. And that's the other thing, is talking to a financial advisor doesn't mean you're going to be investing money right away or ever if it doesn't fit your plan. A good advisor is going to make a plan that fills all the buckets and helps mitigate risks, because the market goes up and down. We have to have a plan for when it's down.
Yeah, I know that's one thing that scares me, is investing. So like, fun fact, like I love to play poker, but I hate losing money. And so I'm like, okay, the risk, I have to like analyze like the risk versus the reward here. And I'm like, you know, like when we like go to Vegas and stuff, I'm like, I will sit at the smallest like table, the smallest buy-in table, and I know that if I walk away with $20 more, like I'm a happy camper. Like, and then my husband, when he plays, I'm like, I have to walk away, because I'm like, I can't watch this. That's too risky.
So funny. That's literally my like dirty little secret, is I love to gamble. But we like are very like, we take 150 when we go to the casino, when we play blackjack, but that's our fun money. And that's what I always tell people, I don't care what you spend your 20% and your fun money, and some people, their fun money is a 30% or 40%, but I don't care what you're spending your fun money on, as long as you're being responsible with your other money. That's all you can do whatever you want.
Absolutely.
It costs me $150 to go out to eat. So at least in gambling, I get the chance to make it back.
Right. Or get a little bit longer, maybe. If you can make it less, you get 3 hours of fun.
And that's the thing, is like, I'm never going to judge somebody for how they spend or like what they're spending their money on, as long as they're being responsible around the other side. And sometimes it takes work to get there. Nobody's perfect on day one.
Yeah, I love all of that. Well, I'm really excited because you are one of our speakers at Grow and Socialize, January 29th. And can you give us a little smidge of like what you're gonna, or do you know yet what you're gonna teach us?
Yeah, I'm still working on, a lot of it's really just gonna be about giving women that confidence that they're allowed at the table and that they are welcome to the conversation. But also we're gonna do a little bit of like budgeting and talking through that. There's a lot of different budgeting apps, and in my experience, none of them are perfect. Me and my husband fought about which one to use for so long, and so now we use a Google Sheets document. And so just some tips around like budgeting and how to think about our money, and that we're allowed to have fun money. So kind of a little bit like that, and then there'll be some other things I'm still working on. But
I love that. Well, if you want to hear more about what she has to say and learn a few things, make sure you come to that event on January 29th and get to listen to Maddison some more.
And remember that you have a seat at the table. You do not have to be a millionaire to have a financial advisor. So if you don't have one or you're interested, please reach out to Maddison.
We will
Absolutely.
link all your information below so that way they can contact you. So,
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys next Monday at 8.
Have a great day.
Thank you.